Hello, welcome to the class. My name's Paddy. Today we're going to be talking about skills for part 3 of the listening. If you have any questions after you watch this class, you can click on the chat icon at the top of your page here. Send us a message with any questions that you have. This is the first class of 2 classes, and this video will last just over 20 minutes. First, we're going to talk about how to predict answers for questions with a gap to complete. And then we're going to look at how to avoid distractors when you're listening. So by the end of this video, you will be more aware of these 2 skills. During this class, there will be some questions for you to answer. You can find these questions below the video. I will tell you when you need to answer these questions, and I will give you about 10 to 15 seconds to do so. Okay, let's get started. So, what do we mean when we say predicting the answer? In the listening test, there will be several types of question where you need to complete a space with a word that you hear from the listening. When we predict the answer, we look at that space before we listen and we try to guess what kind of answer it could be. The type of questions where you have to complete a space include completing forms, completing notes, completing sentences, completing summaries, or labeling diagrams. It can often be quite difficult to know what word to listen for without the context. If you read the context, it will give you some idea of the category or the topic of vocabulary to listen for. Predicting is when you guess the answer before you listen. You will have 20 to 30 seconds before the set of questions to read through the questions. You need to use this time to predict those answers so that your ears know what to listen for when the recording is playing. It's a really good skill to develop because it makes your listening more focused, so you're just picking out the key information that's relevant to that question. Here is an example of a question where we have to complete gaps. The gaps come inside notes, so not complete sentences, and the notes come inside a table. So what we should do is look at the headings of the columns of this table. So we have member of staff, we have role. So this conversation is going to talk about the members of staff at a university and their various roles and responsibilities. Using the information in the column, we can see that all of these are members of staff. So for question 24, we could predict the kind of answer to expect. Look at the first question below this video and select 3 possible answers to question 24. Question 24 is probably going to be something like professor, teacher, or instructor. These are all members of staff that you would find at a university. So maybe not those exact words, but it will be something similar. It's not going to be student or customer because they are not members of staff. It's also not going to be personal tutor because that's already in the question. So when we're listening to this, we're going to listen out for a member of staff. Now, because the listening goes in the order of the questions, we're going to listen out for that member of staff after academic advisor and before teaching associate. So that helps us. Let's look at the other 2 questions, 23 and 25. Now, these come in the notes, so it's less easy to predict what they're going to be. It's not as simple as number 24, which will just be one word for that column. However, we can use the surrounding context of these gaps to give us an idea of what kind of word to expect. The first thing to focus on is the word class. The word class is whether a word is a noun, an adjective, an adverb, or a verb. Look at the next question below this video and think about the word class for both question 23 and question 25. What do you think is the word class for both of these? Is it A, a noun, B, a verb, or C, an adjective? Choose the correct option. So the word class for both question 23 and 25 is going to be a noun. We know this because for question 23, there's the preposition with, which will come before a noun. And in 25, there's the verb writes. So 25 is the object of that verb. It will be a noun. As well as knowing the word class, we can focus on exactly what kind of word or noun this is going to be. Looking at question 23 and thinking about the verb help and then with, do you think this is going to be a situation or a task, or is it going to be a person? Look at the next question below this video and decide if the answer to 23 will be a task or situation or a person. Choose the correct option. Question 23 is going to be a task or situation, not a person. We help somebody with a situation or with a task. We do not help with somebody. So the grammar or the language there can help you predict an answer. The preposition in 23 comes before the answer, but in 25, the preposition comes after the answer. This also gives us some information. For. Writes something for students. What does that preposition tell us about the answer to 25? Look at the next question below this video and decide what that preposition for tells us about the answer to 25. Is it A, the answer will be a text that he or she writes about the students? B, the answer will be something that the students receive? Or C, the answer will be a text that the students write? Choose the correct option. So the answer to 25 will be B, something that the students receive. So they write something for the students. It's the idea of you're writing it with the students in mind that you're then going to give to them. We can focus in a little bit more detail and think about the context of this teaching associate at a university writing something for students. What could that something be? Look at the next question below this video, and can you think of the three things which that answer could be? We have either novels, emails, reports, exams, tests, or letters. Choose the three possible options. So for question 25, it's going to be something like writes reports, writes exams, or writes tests. It's not going to be something like emails or letters because you don't write emails for somebody, you write emails to somebody. So again, that preposition is helping us narrow down the possibilities for that answer. Predicting answers doesn't guarantee you the correct answer. What it does is it helps you know what to focus on in the listening, what kind of words to listen for. If you hear something which matches or is similar to your predicted answer, it can give you confidence that that answer will be correct. I'd like to show you some more examples of how we can use prepositions to help us predict the kind of answer to listen for. Here we have the same question, but each time I have changed the preposition in, on, and at. So the sentence says, the study group meets in, or meets on, or meets at. This changes the kind of answer we would expect. I'd like you first to think about question 21. What kind of answer would you expect for this question? Look at the next question below this video and choose either A, a time, B, a day, or C, a place for question 21. So question 21, we can be sure will be a place. The study group meets in the library, for example. It's not going to be a time. The study group meets in 2012. That would be very strange to give a year. Or the study group meets in October. That seems unusual for a university study group. Now look at 22. The study group meets on. Look at the next question below this video and decide if the answer is going to be A, a time, B, a day, or C, a place. "22 is going to be a day. The study group meets on Saturday or meets on Monday. It's not going to be a place because although on is a preposition of place, you don't meet on the library or on the cinema. That would be very strange. Finally, 23. The study group meets at. Now, at could be two possibilities. So this time, choose two possibilities out of A, a time, B, a day, or C, a place. Question 23 could be a time, A, the study group meets at 6 o'clock, or it could be C, a place. The study group meets at the cafeteria. So both of those could be possible. So when you're listening, you'd be listening out for both of those. Now I'd like to look at distractors. So what do we mean when we say distractors? Well, the IELTS listening test is a test of your ability to understand the general meaning behind what people are saying, but also to understand the specific information that people say. There are some sections of the recording that contain information that you will see in the answer options, or that could be possible in the spaces of answer options. This information will make you think it's correct, but it's not correct. These pieces of information distract you from the real correct answer, which appears in a similar place in the recording. This is why we call them distractors. Pretty much all question types contain distractors, from multiple choice to filling the gap questions. It's especially common, however, in multiple choice questions, where you will probably hear them talk about all of the options in the question. Information matching questions, where again, you will hear them talk about all of the options that you could match the person or the speaker or the topic to. And also in part 1, where you have numbers and names and times to complete, they will often throw in some extra times to make you think that that's the correct answer. Here is an example of a question where we might hear distractors. This is a completing the space question for a sentence. Let's read the instructions first. Complete the sentence below. Write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer. So here we could write 1 word, we could write 2 words, we could write 2 words and a number, or we could just write a number. Now let's read the sentence. Sandra can go and see her tutor after. So for question 23, because of the preposition after, I would expect a time period, or an event. So it could be a time, like after 6 o'clock. It could be a time period, like after lunchtime, or it could be an event, like after the meeting. We're going to listen to the recording, and we're going to try and pay attention to how many different times, time periods, and events they mention in the recording for this question. Look at the next question below this video. Read the question before you listen to the recording. Then I'm going to play the recording. After you listen to the recording, choose the correct number of times, time periods, or events that they mention. Now I'm going to play the recording. Choose the correct option.
When can I go and see my tutor to ask her about my coursework?
Well, most of the tutor's office hours are from lunchtime to 3 p.m. But your tutor also works in the research department, so her hours are a little different. Your tutor teaches in the morning and does research until 4 in the afternoon. No, sorry, it says here she finishes at 5. Her tutees can visit her any time after then.
In that recording, we heard 5 different mentions of times, events, or time periods. We heard 3 p.m., we heard in the morning, we heard lunchtime, we heard 4 in the afternoon, and we heard 5. Now I'm going to look at the audio script and show you where we see those distractors. So this is the audio script for the recording that we just listened to. Let's read through it and try to find those distractors. So the student says, "When can I go and see my tutor to ask her about my coursework?" When we're listening, we're going to listen for that when. Okay, now we know we're listening for the time. The professor replies, "Well, most of the tutor's office hours are from lunchtime to 3 p.m. But your tutor also works in the research department, so her hours are a little different. Your tutor teaches in the morning and does research until 4 in the afternoon. No, sorry, it says here she finishes at 5. So there are those 5 possible answers. Lunchtime, 3 p.m, in the morning, 4 in the afternoon, and at 5. Let's think back to the question, and reading the audio script, decide which of those is the correct answer. Look at the next question below this video and choose the correct answer to question 23. The correct answer to question 23 is 5. For our answer, we could write 5. We could write 5 p.m. We could write 5 o'clock. We could not write 5 in the afternoon because that is one number and then 3 words, which doesn't fit with the instructions. Notice that the speaker here corrects himself. Originally, he said 4 in the afternoon, and then he said, no, sorry, 5. This is quite common, and it's a way of distracting you because you will write down the first thing you hear and then forget to include the real answer. So often distractors come at the beginning of what someone says and the real answer comes at the end. But this is not the only position for distractors to be. They could be in any order and the answer could be anywhere amongst them. Here is an example of a multiple choice question. In this case, the distractors are the options of the question. You will hear the recording speak about all 3 options, but of course, only one of them will be correct. Let's read the question. All essays must be submitted before the deadline, unless. So this word unless suggests that these options are the exception to this rule. So the rule is the essays must be submitted before the deadline, but one of these is the correct exception to that rule. We're going to play the recording. Don't worry about listening for the correct answer. All I'd like you to do is listen for the correct order that you hear the options in. Look at the next question below this video. The options are the order of A, B, and C. After you listen to the recording, choose the correct order for these options in the question. Now I'm going to play the recording. Choose the correct order for those options.
And when it comes to your final written assignment, it is essential that you hand it in before the deadline given to you by your professor.
Is there any way to extend the deadline?
Well, some exceptions can be made if something unexpected happens that takes you away from university, like an urgent family situation. However, the essay submission process is done completely online, so you should be able to do it even if you are ill. During the holidays, the campus is closed, but the online submission site will still be up and running.
So the order that we heard those options in was B, A, and then C. So in this case, they didn't follow the same order as the options. Now let's look at the audio script and try to find the correct answer. Here is the audio script. We're going to listen again and read the audio script. You will find those three possible answers. I would like you to choose the correct answer to question 26. Look at the next question below this video, and when you finish listening, choose the correct answer to question 26.
And when it comes to your final written assignment, it is essential that you hand it in before the deadline given to you by your professor.
Is there any way to extend the deadline?
Well, some exceptions can be made if something unexpected happens that takes you away from university, like an urgent family situation. However, the essay submission process is done completely online, so you should be able to do it even if you are ill. During the holidays, the campus is closed, but the online submission site will still be up and running.
Well done if you got the correct answer. It was B, the student has a family emergency. Let's look at the audio script and see where the answer and those distractors are. So here the professor says, well, some exceptions can be made if something unexpected happens that takes you away from university, like an urgent family situation. So that seems to be the exception. However, the essay submission process is done completely online, so you should be able to do it even if you are ill. Okay, so we're hearing the word ill, but before it is the phrase even if, which means it does not matter if you are ill, you still have to submit the essay. So that's a distractor, but it's not the correct answer because of even if. And then we have, during the holidays, the campus is closed, but the online submission site will still be up and running. So we have but and still. So yes, the campus is closed. However, the online site is still running. No difference, no change, no exception there. So here, the distractors actually came after the correct answer. Okay, that is the end of the class. Remember, if you have any questions now, you can click on that chat icon at the top of your page. Send us a message if you have any questions. Thank you for listening.